Demeter is one of my favorite deities for this specific type of build, mainly because of one thing. Remember that every single god out there, they have their own things that they generally do. Demeter, what it does is that she freezes enemies. This is amazing for two main reasons. First, it allows you to deal damage more comfortably. However, there's one major thing that usually causes for the enemies to deal damage to you. The game has a system of stagger damage. So whenever you deal damage to any enemy out there that does not have armor, they get staggered and you can basically stun lock them provided that they do not have armor. That is why sometimes it is a good idea to have, for example, Hephaestus, because Hephaestus allows you to get rid of the armor that much faster. However, I'd say that Demeter is much better than Hephaestus because when you freeze enemies, you're going to be able to deal damage to them without them being able to retaliate to you, as you can see in the gameplay that you see right in here. So if that's the case, you're basically immortal, because if you have enough AoE damage, which this is a build that we're focusing on AoE, as much AoE as we can deal, specifically using the spin to win with this specific weapon, with the axe. This is going to be a build that's going to be working better with the axe. It's not that it doesn't work as good with the rest of the weapons, but this is the one that I'd say that it works best with this. So that being said, what this does is that even when you encounter enemies, and this works with bosses as well, bosses and guardians, if they have armor on top of them, you can freeze them, and if you have enough DPS, which we are going to be building towards enough DPS, so that you manage to get rid of that armor before they even get defrozen, and if you have enough DPS, you manage to get some good rarities on your boons, you're going to be able to kill things before even they defreeze themselves. So that's going to be the general gist and the general idea of this build. So for that, the main first thing that we are going to need is going to be Demeter's Ice Strike. You will see that the attack damage increase percentage as a basic boon. It's not really that great, but every rarity that you get in here is going to be increasing your damage to 10%. So if you get either a purple one or a heroic one, you could end up having like 50% more damage. Remember that that is not good, as good, for example, as Apollos that does give more percentage in DPS, or even Aphrodite, which is a build that we have made. Aphrodite is just all about raw power, and you can reach up to 300% damage with this right in here. But if you get like a heroic one or a purple one, it's really not that bad, because you end up having like 50%, and if you level that up all the way to like 5 levels, just 5 levels is enough for you to be able to get something like 100%. And if you actually do manage to get things like Echo, if you're doing the underground, or you use Poseidon, which is a boon that we'll talk about in a little while, once we talk about the actual upgrades that we are going to have as a side thing, then you could potentially end up having 200% more damage in here without any kind of issues, on top of the actually amazing debuff that we have right in there. The second thing that we are going to need specifically with this build to increase that damage, because yes, to some extent it is very low, it's going to be the Weed Killer. Now this is going to use 10 more magic points, but it is going to increase the Omega attack damage as a basic boon by 50%. And remember that this is a build that we're always going to be using the Omega, because we want to use that spin to win to freeze the enemies around you. And yes, this is a build that I would advise for you to use mainly with the spin to win with the axe, and that is going to require for you to use magic. We're going to cover that with Arcanas, but if you don't have Arcanas, then you can by all means be using something that is going to give you more magic, but we'll talk about that in a little while. Now this is going to be mainly just the main thing. Like, you can have different things that are going to increase your damage, like for example, if you get Artemis can make your arrows deal more AoE damage around, which is nice, but it is not necessarily a inherent part of the build. This is just basically as it stands right in here. The next thing that we are going to be looking for, it's going to be the Furious Whirlwind. This is a weapon upgrade. You channel your Omega attack faster and you move 50% faster while it is active. It is in our best interest to have this guy right in here, because remember that you want to touch the enemies, as you see me doing right in here. You want to touch the enemies. As soon as you touch an enemy, he's going to be frozen. Whenever he's frozen, he's going to be open regardless of armor or not for you to kill them, so that you don't lose any health, and that anytime that you manage to reach a guardian or a boss, you're always going to be maxed out on resources. Some more things that I would advise for you to take as an extra, like focusing the rest of the gods. The ideal order of things would be taking Demeter to establish the things that I have already showcased to you, and then the weapon upgrade. Those are going to be the things that you're going to be prioritizing, but if you have to choose in one or the other, then the next gods that you should be looking out for is going to be Ares, Hephaestus, and Poseidon as well. First, we're focusing on Ares. This is going to give you DPS and survivability. You're not going to, these two boons, I always use them single-handedly as an independent build. I always use it because it gives you more survivability while increasing your damage. If your damage is already pretty high and you also have the survivability of you always spinning and regaining your health back with these two boons that I have for you right in here, it's just more DPS while also more survivability, and you have your Death's Defiances, and then you also have the Arcana that prevents for you to receive damage while you also at the same time have no Death's Defiance. So this is more survivability while also having more DPS. For the rest of the defense utility, we have Hephaestus, and we have two boons that I like to take in here more often than not. The Trusty Shield. Anytime that you enter a location, depending on the rarity, this is going to be higher or lower. You're going to receive armor just for that location, and this actually resets every time that you enter a new location. However, you prime 30 magic. We don't really care about priming magic that much, because the actual skill that we're using, it regenerates magic provided that you have some Arcanas or that you're using some type of magic increase. If you have the Magicas, the Arcanas, I'll show them to you in a little while, that are going to be a necessity for this build. Otherwise, you can just be taking any god that gives you magic outside this. The other one that we can be using, it's the security system. Now this is very interesting. It's going to give you temporary starting armor for the specific encounter that you have right in there. Now this is very interesting because a lot of people may not like this guy that much. It's 7 seconds. The overall gist of everything right in here is killing things as soon as you enter the location, and if you have that specific armor right in there on that location, just for those 7 seconds, it gives you 7 seconds of invulnerability for you to deal as much damage as possible. However, this is not really as important as it would be with, like, for example, the Aphrodite build that we built the other day, because the protection in this build is debuffing the enemy. So those extra armor, it's just like an extra layer of protection, but it is not going to be as important as the rest of everything. Poseidon with Sea Star. Believe it or not, I'm actually going to have a dedicated video on boons that people often don't take, but they're just so absurdly powerful and broken. The Sea Star. Every time that you that you get rewards, like other things that are like not boons, like for example the weapon upgrades or rare resources, a copy may appear. This applies to hearts, this applies to weapon upgrades, this applies to money, and you can just get so much health and so much money to purchase all of those rarities at the end of each run, which are usually very powerful things, and once you reach the final boss, things that you are going to need back on the crossroads. Another one that I very much like to use in this pass, well, with the Hephaestus. Then again, a lot of people do not like the time limited boons, but this is going to give you an initial damage bonus that it is going to scale amazingly, tremendously high every time that you get an upgrade. Being the highest, I believe it's going to be like 100% more damage, and you can upgrade this even more. So at the start of each encounter, your attacks and specials are stronger for 10 seconds. Take a look at this gameplay that I have for you right in here, and take a look at how much damage you deal to the Guardian as soon as you start the fight right in here, thanks to this bad boy. To clear things faster, it's very useful killing things faster with your eyes. It's very much in your best interest because that allows you to continue moving forward without using resources, and also with guardians that are very annoying, you can just diminish their health bar to the half of it even, and then have a good head start for that specific boss fight so that you don't actually lose that many resources. This is very, very powerful. Now the Arcanas, I usually run with something very specific. The main thing that I like to have, and I'd say that the main thing that you should have with all of the builds right out there, it's Excellence, Divinity, and the Queen. However, the Queen does require for you to have different requirements that we're not meeting right in here with this specific build, because this is not a build focused for dual gods. So the main thing would be Excellence and Divinity. Excellence does not have any kind of requirement. However, Divinity is an awakening card that requires for you to have 5 cards in any other row or column. The one row that I like to take is this one right in here, mainly because of you have more attack percentage whenever you have less than 100% of your magic, meaning that since we're using our Olympian or Mega attack, at all times we're always using magic, we're always having flat 50% more damage. Also, when you channel your Mega moves, the enemies move slower for 1.2 seconds. This applies to Guardians and bosses as well. It gives you time to charge that spin to win scenario so that when time resumes, you have already frozen anything, so everything is just so much easier for you. The one thing that you are going to need as a must, as an independent something, is going to be the Unseen, and you have to upgrade this to the maximum. If you manage to upgrade this to the maximum, you're going to restore 10 magic every 1 second, meaning that even when we primed so much magic, we don't really care, we don't need any boon. This does not use that much magic because you're not spamming, like it has to pass some time before you spam it again. It's not like the special attacks that you have to spam it over and over and over and over again. You are going to be spamming this as well, but some time passes before you have to cast it again because you're spinning, and while you're spinning, you're regenerating your magic that ensures that you always have the magic at all times. If you don't have this, just replace this by any God's Boon that would give you magic for some time. The next thing that I like to have, it's Death. You have +3, that's Defiance. It's very, very, very useful. And then we have Strength. Once you have spent all of your Death's Defiances on your final life, you take that one extra clutch to take 40% less damage and deal 20% more. The Keepsakes, in order of things that you're going to be taking, the first thing that you're going to be taking as a keepsake is going to be Demeter. This is going to ensure that you have a lot of Demeter options in the first run. The second one that I advise for you to use is the one for Ares, so that you can try to get the boons that I talked about. And then the second, it's going to be either, you can change this in either Hephaestus or Poseidon. And as a matter of fact, the order of things in here, it could be like dependent entirely onto you. We just want to be very, very powerful for the final boss. As a matter of fact, if you take Poseidon for the second run, the second set of the second region, it gives you the chance of you being able to get that boon that it is going to give you more resources whenever you actually do get resources. So it is a very good idea to take Poseidon first. The weapon is going to be, of course, the aspect of Melinoi on rank 5. That's the one that I have right in here. You get more attack power and max life. This attack power is going to be increasing by your weed counter and also by your basic regular attack that we got from Demeter. So this is going to ensure that you have lots of DPS from the very get-go, the very start of everything. And just like that, you have a very, very, very broken and very powerful build that it basically turns you immortal. If you see the gameplay that I have for you right in here against Typhon, you will notice that I'm not moving at all. I'm taking a huge load of damage. I'm taking as much damage as I can take, and that is because I have all of my 3 Death's Defiances. I have the rest of all of the builds established as I showed you. I did manage to get every single thing that I showed you on this run, and it's very easy to get these things provided that you know how to look for them. Not every run is going to be perfect, but this was, and thanks to that, I can get the luxury of just standing in there and chop him away and deal damage to him, and not even caring about me receiving damage, because at the end of the day I know that I have enough stuff to withstand this. So yes, you can get so powerful thanks to if you can get so much survivability to get to this point, it's just because of the debuffing and the high DPS that you manage to stack with this type of build. If you like the content, like and it was super appreciated. Nostal you today, you're gorgeous and beautiful person. You're into the gorgeous and beautiful person. Subscribe to the channel, join the Discord. Have a beautiful day, goodbye.